Welcome, everyone, to Totally Whiskey and Wine. I'm your host, Jason, and with me, as always, is our intermediate, James, and our industry professional, Zach. So, today we are going to be reviewing the Redwood Empire Haystack Needle Straight Rye Whiskey. So, what did we score it as? Drum roll, please.
Dum, 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 dum.
86. That's right, we gave it an 86. Now, before we get into how we scored it that way, Zach, why don't you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, so not to abridge too far from the last episode. However, this is Redwood Empire's, I believe, first attempt at a solely grain-to-glass, single-barrel product. They've been sourcing from MGP for a while. Fastest-growing whiskey company in North America. Not just bourbon company, whiskey company. That's a big remark. Let's go ahead and talk about the bottle facts. So this right here is 90% rye, 5% malted barley, really just to help with fermentation, 5% wheat. It is 8 years old. We have a barrel number 1,201. It's 124.4 proof. Barrel type, New American Oak, Caracas Alba, which is really like most American oak. Char level 3, Russian River aquifer water, some of the best in the world, used in some of the best wines in the world. Distilled grain to glass in Sonoma County, California. Master distiller Jeff Duckhorn, wine industry prodigy.
Mash bill 95.5.
Yep.
95.5, yes.
Yep. 95.
I just said that.
Yep. All right. So, we told you we got a score of 86. How did we come about that? Well, we rate in 4 categories. So nose, mouthfeel, flavor, and finally the finish. So what we do is we will blind test this. Then each of us will rate from up to 25 points in each category. Add all 4 categories together to get up to 100 points individually for us. Then we add our individual scores together and average them out to get our final score. So let's talk a little bit about how we came about our scores. And we'll start with the nose. So, why don't you start us off, James? What did you get for the nose?
I gave this one a 22. I get dry woods, grains, like a light sweet hint, and coming on to it took me a little bit to get back to it. Tiny bit of dill, a tiny little bit of dill hit on it. So,
okay,
yep, 22.
So I think I need to smell dill a little more. That's a note that I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah.
However, my nose was rated a 21 on this particular product with notes of cinnamon, baked apple, clove, and pine needle. I thoroughly enjoyed the nose. It was not out of the world for the rye, but it was very much above average. Solid product overall. Go ahead.
Okay, so I told you I think you'd be interested in the words I used for this. Nose, I got a 22, and I came up with sugar-covered marshmallow is kind of the scent I got a little bit of. Like an extra sweet marshmallow.
A lot of sweet notes. It's funny. So aside to that, I added, after I finished everything here, we added a little water.
I did too.
And you were talking about some things, and I was able to pick up a little bit of pine, like sweet, like pine needle, fresh drop pine needle.
Yeah, where you get that like sappy tar.
But I got it after
at the end.
And I wrote it down, so I didn't say it. But I did. But it took water to get that.
It took water to open it up
so
to get that.
You didn't try water on yours. You should. Try
I did.
Water.
No, I did.
Oh, you tried water.
I did. Yeah.
And so just take another nose on it. No other word. A new word. One other word.
I can see where you got pine. I wouldn't have picked that word on my own.
Cone.
Just don't pick thirsty. That's not the word you want to choose.
So thirsty.
No, well, I mean, I like it.
All right.
But all right, so let's move on next to mouthfeel.
Ooh.
So I'll go ahead and start mouthfeel off. I really loved the mouthfeel on this. It hit everywhere, including, I mean, even my sinuses. Like kind of in the back of my throat where, your nasal passages come into your throat, basically. I felt it there, and it was a comfortable burn, but it kind of gave me a little bit of a woohoo, yeah.
124.4.
Yeah.
There.
And I really enjoyed that. I give it a 23 on that. So That was really nice.
So this is my lowest performing score by far. Probably the only reason the scored fairly low. I gave it an 18. It is no secret on the channel at this point. I'm a pussy when it comes to really high proof. I enjoy the 107 to 115 range. This is well out of my comfort zone. And it drinks its proof. This does feel like 124.4 proof.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't appreciate cask strength bourbon at its extreme, and I hate to say this is extreme, but it's on the beginning of the extreme range.
Up there.
Mm-hmm.
This
not subtle.
This is hot.
Oh yeah.
So the Kentucky Hug all the way over in California. It's got some reach.
Yep.
This is a good bottle, don't get me wrong, and it gets an above average score because it's not unapproachable at the proof, but it is hot, and I have to acknowledge that.
So I'm going to jump in behind you there. Mouthfeel, I gave it a 20. I feel a lot of things you did. It's big spice hit.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely it's a bit harsh on the front. I thought it just hit me a little bit hard on the front, but it's all over. That's that 124, and I'm a high proof kind of guy, and it drinks all of 124.
Mm-hmm.
It drinks over that. It probably drinks in the 128, 130 kind of range.
Well,
it is.
Well, that hit you were saying that spice in that front hit, I really enjoyed that. And that was part of the.
I am still feeling
it's front heat. Yeah, I still have it. It's that front heat. It's front heat on the front there.
Oh,
but it's not a bad thing.
No.
Yeah, that's one.
If that's your jam, there you go. Even more points.
Right here.
It's good stuff.
Right here. All right. Now that brings us next to flavor. Zach, why don't you start?
Okay, I'll start in the middle.
Yeah.
I gave this thing a 24 for flavor, nearly a perfect score, and this will be a reoccurring trend for the rest of the bottle. Notes of burnt sugar, pepper box, flint, rosemary, and sage. This, quite frankly, is a very dynamic range for a rye, where I'm getting some herbal, metallic, mineralistic notes throughout the whole experience here. And the palate evolves as you, allow it to oxidize in the glass and further enhance the flavor experience here. But also, and I'd hate to say the bias of adding a little water here, it reinforced those flavors. Yeah. I made my notes beforehand.
Yeah, we all did. We didn't put water. Nobody put water on it.
Added a drop of a finger after we went ahead and did our initial review, and it reinforced the ideals here.
It's the same thing for you, for me.
Yep.
And I think that has to do a little bit of the aquifer of the Russian River here, where it's a very unique aquifer compared to the limestone caverns of Kentucky. This is very much just a unique product. You don't see a lot of straight rye whiskey coming out of California, and this really leans into that characteristic where I get a little bit of that minerality.
Flavor, 22. Big word, toasted bread.
Yeah.
Like a toasted bread, toasted bread notes, grain, toasted grains, toasty notes. Toasty, and maybe tendering towards a little bit of sweets too, like a little bit of kind of sweets in there. But toasted bread. Probably the biggest thing for me is basically just like toasted bread. Not the dryness of toasted bread.
No, but the flavor.
That flavor of toasted bread. Yeah, the dryness is something a little bit different.
And explain this to me. Like, are you thinking like you bite into like a sandwich and there's that wheat initially?
Yeah, having a toasted bun with your hamburger versus a regular bun.
Yep.
Having a toasted sandwich versus that Cuban toasted,
I got you.
That toasted feeling, that toasted bread hit.
See, I didn't really get that flavor.
Not
so
cinnamon
much.
Toast Crunch sweet. Like
no.
Some people like sweet, and not toasted like.
But it's still rich.
Burnt black, so like black cherry. No, that toasted bread big. It's just toasted bread.
You see, I didn't get that, but what I did get was you said pepper box. I got peppery. I got spicy. Yep. I even got I guess I would call it just a little bit of kind of wood, but subtle. But mostly for me it was the peppery, the spice, and then I couldn't individually classify them and spread them out, but you said like rosemary and other things in there. That's probably all part of that sensation.
What was your flavor rating? Your flavor rating was
good question. I gave it a 20.
20. Okay.
So, but I liked it. It wasn't out of all of them. That wasn't my favorite thing.
You're right, one. I did have to struggle with other words for it because toasted bread is just the biggest one that really got for me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little subtleties in there, but they all follow that same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Toasted grains, toasted breads. So it's not smooth fruities or anything.
No. And then
I didn't get.
Finally, that brings us to the finish. So for the finish, once again, I gave a 23. That and the mouthfeel were my two favorite things about this. The finish, I'm still feeling it. I'm still getting that burn. I love it. I can still feel the kind of that coating in my throat a little. It's still not just the heat, but just like a coating. It's there. It's comfortable. And I want to go back. I want to continue to sip this, continue to enjoy it, and try more to pull out more flavors and more things from it because it just
So now we
it intrigues
a
me.
list for you for your.
Yeah, I got to hunt
on
this.
your little I want list.
Yes, absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely.
I am on an email list to get more bottles. We'll see.
And I
All right.
might have to buy it from you.
Let me jump in there. I've got on my finish. I gave it a 21. Very full mouthfeel. I mean, you get front palate burn, rear palate burn, down to the throat hug. It sticks with you for a while. I mean, it definitely. I think it's a nice heat. I put full mouthfeel, nice heat.
Yep.
You know, you just get it. It drinks like 130, 135 maybe. I wouldn't say 140s like
Well, no,
hazmat bottle.
but it's
It
strong.
isn't hazmat bottle crazy, but it's close.
It's strong.
It drinks over its proof, and that's a lot of that's the rye spice. But yeah, it's nice. It's definitely a fun experience.
I can just.
All right, where are you, Chief?
So to finish us off,
Yes.
so I gave the finish a 24 once again. So the cinnamon and there's a little bit of nuttiness on the back end of this, and I think that has partially to do with the wheat at the portion of the palate here. But like James said, it hugs you the whole way through, and it's warm. After the palate has dissipated and you're past the initial holy smokes, this is hot.
Mm-hmm.
It is a rewarding experience. You fight through that initial battle, and then you reap the rewards. This is a very warming, wholesome rye whiskey at the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, I would go through this again and again and again and again to get to the finish. Because the flavors and the fact that it leaves you those whispers of nuttiness and cinnamon on the back end are just perfect for this bottle.
You see, and when you say nuttiness and cinnamon, I just had that sip after it's been open for a while and everything. I can get that now.
A little bit of like
Just-
hazelnut.
Yeah, just a little bit, just subtle.
I chomp it. I kind of dry chomp it there at the end to try and get a word of that, and I don't have it real big there. When it's not usually maybe the fruity things hang for me the longest.
Yeah.
Back way. In previous episode,
Yeah.
I said frosted like cinnamon donut.
Yeah,
I'm just not finding a word on the back, but there's definitely flavor there. I
yeah.
just don't have a word for it. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's still 30, 60, 90.
Oh yeah.
4 minutes later, probably I'd say probably all the way to 2, 3, 4 minutes. You can still get like
Yeah.
kind of flavor.
I dare to say 5 to 6 minutes later, I still feel it.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's there. It stays with you. So if you're not big into big in your face rye,
Yeah.
this is probably not for you. But if you
No.
like something that really
If you like-
hits you,
if you
stays
like-
with you,
Yeah.
you can just sit there and you can take a dram of this and just spread it over an hour and a
Oh
half,
hell yeah.
and enjoy every minute of the whole hour and a half. It's not like you have to keep getting it to get flavor.
And
It
just
stays with you
to
between sips.
appreciate this, I mean, this is holding its weight.
Mhm.
So let's ask the question:
120,
what would you pay for it?
Yeah.
120, 130?
No.
130, 140, easy.
Yeah, no, this is $180, $200 bottle.
Yeah.
With that kind of bang, I don't feel afraid of it.
Well,
Yeah, if I saw a $200 price tag, I would still pay for it.
Yeah, you like rye, yeah. So right
Yeah.
now you're on the rye thing.
Yeah.
So
For me, it's really there.
I feel very lucky then, as I was part of the initial group to get bottles from the Redwood Empire website.
Mhm.
1201. I believe I'm in the first barrel of that limited production. I don't know for certain, so I won't say it for certain. But I knew they were doing Haystack needles prior to this, where they're blending in MGP.
Mhm.
That's where you see like the Cabernet and the Chardonnay finished barrels. On like you'll see them on just Unicorn every now and then.
And some of these other secondaries.
They're getting more and more rare as time goes on, but really I think $150, $180 is fair.
Yeah.
I paid $113 for this. I feel like I got
Yeah.
a
That's
fucking
it.
bargain for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I paid $200 for bottles. Don't taste like that.
Mhm.
It's drinking over its proof. It still carries a lot of woody. Maybe that's the water. Isn't that with the bourbon that they have, the Haystack bourbon?
I paid
woody note, wood note. So it's not.
I paid more for the
It's different than
Yamamoto or Yamato.
You have the Yamato.
Yamato. That
But
I paid more for that
I think
than
there's definitely a clear line of this West Coast, kind of they're calling it Russian aquifer sort of
Yeah.
thing, versus the Kentucky side. It could be the water. It could just be a branding sort of thing. But
It
there's
could
a
be
distinction there.
Yeah.
the wood
If you want to
sourcing,
get
the
away
yeast.
from all your Kentucky, hardcore center core Kentucky flavor stuff, you want to try something else. This is it earned its spot as something else.
Mhm.
It's significantly different.
Exactly.
It's not Texas whiskey, Louisiana whiskey, Florida, St. Augustine sort of stuff. It's got its own sort of thing. It's going, and I'd even say like that. There's Westward and some other companies in Washington, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing something sort of a little bit different over there. You're trying like a regional American whiskey.
Get a little bit different flavors. And stuff.
Regional American whiskey. This is probably an interesting one to jump into and see the differences.
Yeah.
So I think it may be a good idea for us in a future episode to visit some Florida whiskeys then.
I think so. I think that's a great idea. I also think there may or may not be in the future some head-to-heads within this line right here. So that being said, we hope you had a good time, and whatever you're drinking, we hope you enjoy. Cheers.
Cheers.